The Springboks have not peaked. They have not even come close to peaking. And the terrifying part is that Rassie Erasmus knows exactly what he is doing. Nobody outside South Africa is saying this clearly enough. Every rival coaching group preparing for 2027 is running analysis on the squad that won Paris, on the squad that swept Europe, on the squad that dominated the 2025 Rugby Championship from the first whistle to the last. They are studying a team that, by the time Australia comes around, will look almost nothing like what it does today. And the replacements are not coming through a development program. They are already in camp, already in franchises, already in winning setups. The machine has not finished building. It just started its second phase. If this is the first time you are hearing this framed this way, subscribe now and press the bell icon because we are tracking this before the rest of the rugby world works it out. Here is what makes the Springbok pipeline different from every other nation attempting to cycle in youth. France rebuilt after 2023. New Zealand has been searching for answers since Paris. England is still figuring out what kind of team they want to be. Ireland has a core that is aging and a timeline that does not align with 2027. Every one of these nations approaches youth integration the same way. You finish a World Cup cycle, you evaluate your squad, you identify where the drop-off is coming, and you plan around it. That model has a fundamental flaw. By the time you identify the gap and begin filling it, you are already 18 months behind. Rassie does not operate that way. He has never operated that way. The Springbok pipeline does not begin when a player turns 22 and earns a franchise contract. It begins when a 14-year-old walks through the gates of Grey College or Paul Roos Gymnasium or Offies. South Africa runs a school rugby system that has no parallel anywhere in the world. These are not clubs with an academy attached. These are institutions built around producing rugby players who know what it means to win before they are old enough to vote. The GPS schools have been undefeated in national competitions for most of the last decade. The players who come through those environments have already experienced more pressure rugby, more tactical demand, more physical brutality than most international players encounter in their first 2 years of senior professional rugby. By the time a South African school product reaches a franchise, he is already battle-hardened. He has been coached by men who built their careers around producing Springboks. He has played in front of thousands of supporters who expect nothing less than dominance. He arrives at the Stormers or the Bulls or the Sharks already knowing how to win. That is the foundation that every other nation tries to build at professional level and never quite manages because the window is too short and the pressure is too different. This is why Rassie integrated 12 players under the age of 23 into Springbok setups across the 2025 and 2026 seasons. He was not experimenting, he was not gambling. He was executing a plan that he had been building since the moment South Africa lifted the trophy in Paris. Layer on top of a winning culture. Never rebuild from scratch. Add to what works. The result across the 2025 Rugby Championship was attack up 22% in passes per game, tries up 18%, tackle success rate at 89%, defensive structure completely untouched. That is what happens when you introduce players who already understand the system because they were built by the same philosophy from the age of 14. Now, let us talk about who these players actually are, because the rugby world is getting the names wrong, getting the positions wrong, and getting the timelines wrong. Start with Keenan. He's the perfect proof of how the system works. 4 years ago, he was a U20 standout. 3 years ago, he was earning his first senior caps. Today, at 23 years old, he has 25 Springbok caps. He's a veteran, and he's one of the players mentoring the next wave coming through. That arc from U20 to senior Springbok in 3 years is not an accident. It is the designed outcome of a system that does not have a gap between youth and senior level. The philosophy, the patterns, the defensive demands, the culture of winning, they are continuous. When a Keenan crossed from U20 to senior rugby, the environment felt familiar because it was built on the same foundations. The same arc is already visible in Sasha, the young fly-half who showed in patches during the 2025 season exactly what the Tony Brown system demands at 10, the ability to read a defensive alignment before the line closes and commit the ball carrier or move it wide with timing that makes the option look simple from the outside. That hat-trick performance against Argentina was not a lucky afternoon. That was the ceiling. The work of 2026 is to make that ceiling the floor, to make those decisions automatic rather than exceptional. Sasha is 20 years old. By the time Australia 2027 kicks off, that decision-making could be running on 4 seasons of high-pressure senior rugby. If it is, the Springbok 10 position will have gone from the most analyzed vulnerability in the squad to one of its most dangerous weapons. Then there is Marcus, and here is where the rugby world needs to be corrected, because this is being misreported. Marcus Miller is a center, a 12 or 13. He does not play fly half. He does not fit the 10 mold. He plays outside the pivot. He reads space the way centers need to read space, and that is precisely what makes him interesting in Tony Brown's system. Brown's attack creates defensive dilemmas through width and phase play. What that system needs in the midfield is someone who can identify those dilemmas and accelerate through them. Marcus has shown at U20 level that he has that ability. He sees the picture early. He processes fast. At 18, coming out of South Africa's school rugby system with that attribute already visible, the ceiling is significant. But put him at 10 and you misunderstand why he is valuable. His value is what he does to defensive alignments once the ball is past the pivot. That is the position. That is the brief. What is the position that everyone is watching heading into the 2026 Nations Championship and the greatest rivalry series? Which role in the Springbok squad do you think still needs the most development before Australia 2027? Drop your answer in the comments because that debate is one we want to run properly on this channel over the next 18 months. The forward pipeline is where the conversation gets genuinely frightening for opposing nations. Forwards win World Cups. Every team in the top tier knows this. The Springbok scrum has been a weapon for years. The line-out, the maul, the driving game, these are not tactical choices. They are cultural products of a forward environment that begins in school rugby and never stops demanding dominance. The next generation of Springbok forwards coming through the franchises have already won SA Schools titles. They have won U20 competitions. They arrive in senior setups having spent years in environments where anything less than physical dominance is unacceptable. The step from franchise to test level in South African rugby is steep, but it's the same kind of steep in both directions, because the school and franchise system has already built the durability required. The numbers out of the U20 campaign in 2025 are worth putting on record. South Africa scored 28 tries in that campaign. They conceded 8. That's a points differential that belongs to a team running an entirely different operating system than its opponents. Franchise pathways across the Stormers, Bulls, and Sharks pushed 15 or more youth caps into senior rugby during the same period. These players are not being handed starts. They are being integrated into winning setups, understanding the demands and building the experience without having to absorb a losing culture to get it. That last point is the one that rival coaching groups should be losing sleep over. England in 2023 had a transition period. France post-2023 had a transition. New Zealand is in one right now. The common thread in all of those transitions is that the incoming players had to absorb a new culture, a new expectation, often a new coaching approach. The learning curve was steep because the environment itself was in flux. When a Springbok youth product enters the senior setup, there is no cultural adjustment required. The expectations are identical. Win, dominate the contact area, execute under pressure. These players have been living inside that expectation since secondary school. The transition is seamless because the entire system is a single continuous thread. This is the masterstroke that is not getting discussed anywhere near enough. Rassie doesn't rebuild, he reloads. When a veteran moves on, the player stepping into that environment has been shaped by the same philosophy. He knows what the jersey requires because he has been prepared for it since before he had a professional contract. The gap that other nations experience when they cycle generations does not exist here in the same form. Picture the Springboks starting 15 in the quarterfinals at Australia 2027. Marcus in the midfield making decisions that pull defensive structures apart. Sasha at 10 executing the Tony Brown system with 2 more years of experience than he has right now. A forward pack built from players who have been in SA school setups and franchise rugby since they were teenagers, who understand the physical demand at the highest level and have never played in a losing culture. The average age of that squad could sit at 25, which means it wouldn't just be the strongest Springbok team on paper, it would be the hungriest, the one with the most to prove, the one that has been waiting the longest. Rivals are preparing for the Springboks they faced in 2023 and 2025.